Hey everyone, welcome back to Ion Radio and the Backseat Admiral. It has been a while since we've done this, so if you're in the chat, go ahead and let me know how I sound on the mic if I need to change anything or anything like that. There's a bit of delay, so I'll just keep talking for a little bit. Today is June 29th, 2022. It's been almost 2 months since I've done the last Backseat Admiral. Life has been crazy. So, probably going to just start off this episode by going over some like housekeeping / Ion Radio news. And then we're going to dive into breaking down this latest episode that we released, which is episode 1 of season 4. I got some people here with me and they say I sound good. Welcome to the chat, everyone. Yes, it's Short Hair John, and we're also gonna have like kick back to some of the original Ion Radio where I went like short hair, long hair, short hair in the upcoming episodes. So you guys have that to look forward to. Thanks very much. So my hair was long enough that I actually, when I got it cut, I was able to donate my hair. Which was super, super exciting for me. It was like one of those things that has always been on like the bucket list. Like if I ever were to grow my hair out, I'll donate it. And I never actually thought that was going to take place. So my wife took me to a fancy hair salon for the first time because normally I either, like just did it myself or I haven't had a haircut in over 3 years or my dad did it. So they put like these rubber bands and got it really close to my head to chop it off. So it ended up being like about a foot long. So I was super excited for that. So that's new. One of the reasons why we haven't done a backseat recently is one, we haven't been doing our normal seasons. I was going to talk more about like the Madness series and things like that, and then everyone in my household got COVID, which really sucked, so that took us all out of the equation for a bit. And then while like work and things like that gives you like 5 days off because that's what the CDC says for having COVID, you're still exhausted afterwards for a couple of weeks. So with that and other life events going on, it's just been way too busy because after being sick, you got to catch up with everything you had. Life just doesn't stop. So I'm glad that we're all feeling better. We're all doing well. Ken and I are starting to get back into the swing of recording again because just life. So get sick, busy, and then we finally had a recording day planned, and the homeowners association's like, hey, we're gonna put a roof on your house this weekend. Oh, cool. You can't record with someone putting a roof on your house. You can't do anything with the house with that. So we're back recording. So if you haven't seen, there is a teaser trailer of what's coming out later this summer from Ken and I. We are going to be tackling a Clone Wars campaign. We've already started recording it, and in the next month, let's say, so sometime in July, we're going to be releasing a video that's going to go over all of our new house rules for what we've decided to do with it, because we want to have fun doing it. So we've changed a lot of things across everything. Hold on one sec. The other problem with not doing Backseat recently is nothing on my computer is updated, so it's trying to remind me to update different programs as we're doing this. That's no good. Also, because we haven't talked about this, big congratulations to our Madness 2022 finalists. We had Mike Pedri's Leo Organa fleet that was the runner-up, and I flew that fleet a lot, and I really, really enjoyed it. And also, spoilers, so in case you want to go watch Madness, go watch that. But usually if you're watching a backseat, you realize that there's going to be lots of spoilers for anything that we release. And then this year's winner is Camillus of Rhone, so big congratulations to him and his TF fleet. I managed to do quite well with it, regardless of having rerolls. It was just enough throwing of dice that dice luck didn't really come into it. It did very well. Some of the matchups are very difficult across all of Madness, but Ken and I both really, really enjoyed the lists that were... There's another pop-up. Hold on. Ken and I both really enjoyed the lists that were submitted, so big thank you to everyone that submitted lists and watched it. And Ken's going to be finishing up Monster Madness, which he took a bunch of the bigger things and put them against each other. I believe he's finishing recording it this week, and it'll be out either next week or the week following. It just depends on editing time. So we are excited for all of that. So I'm going to just kick into it, and we can now start talking about... actually, not yet. So Ken and myself are both going to be attending Gen Con this year, so we're really excited. So if you're going to be going to Gen Con, make sure to stop by and say hi to us. You might not be able to recognize me. I might come in a long hair or short hair disguise, so you have to keep your lookout for that. And then also our co-host of the Command Stack, Garrett and Ryan, are also going to be there. So it's going to be like a big event of all of us being at Gen Con. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's world tickets on the line, so we got to come prepared to try to get those. And then just enjoying Gen Con as a whole. It's been years since I've been to a convention because of the pandemic and everything like that with life. So excited to be getting back out there and checking out like board games and just hanging out with a bunch of nerds. So really looking forward to that. So now that's out of the way, so let's jump into it. This week we have Screed versus Maydeen. Give me a second here, because this list is actually brought to us by someone. If my stuff will load. Come on. There we go. So this list by Screed is brought to us by Mick Sweet 251. And Ken flew this fleet, and I flew a Maydeen fleet. I'm not a big fan of Maydeen, and never really have been. There's certain, like if you look at the Rebels, right, you have the two extreme ends. You have, like, on the extreme end of high, you have Akbar, who's worth every penny that you pay for him. And then pretty much all the rest of the Rebel commanders. And then you play Agate and Dodonna. And that's pretty much it. So, like, you have these commanders, like Maydeen's way too expensive for what he does, compared to, like, an Ozzel, which Ozzel now just gives it to it. Let's go into it. So this is my Maydeen list. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Usually, like, I use the commanders to, like, focus how I want to build something. And with some of these more generic, I call them, like, Rebel commanders, you just start to build generic fleets. So I started off with an MC-80 battlecruiser. So let's read Maydeen and then, like, get an idea of how he works so we can build a fleet around him. So General Maydeen costs 30 points. Way too expensive, but you got to do what you got to do. General Maydeen, when a friendly ship resolves a nav command, if it spent a dial, it may increase one additional yaw value by 1. If it spent a nav token, it may either change the speed or increase one yaw value by 1. Okay. It's an ability, but it's a super expensive ability for 30 points. Like I said, like, compared to Ozzel, Ozzel's now adjust your speed up or down by 1 for free, for fleet wide, not tying you to any commands. This ties you a command, and it just gives you a little bit. He does help the MC-80 battlecruiser turn, because these things are pretty much the brickiest of bricks. They kind of just do that. So he actually allows you to actually turn it, which isn't the worst. But you have to be doing that command. So you're pretty much locked into this. I need to have dials or tokens to get any effect from him. So you just broadcast like most of the time rebels are navving anyway. But like the rebel ships for the most part are super maneuverable. So there's only a handful of ships that actually need Madine's power. The MC-80 battlecruiser being one of them. So it's like, okay. So the rest of the ship is Awalix Blissus, Caitlin and Sholin, heavy ion emplacements, engine techs, spinal armament, XI7s, and Mon Karen. So I threw engine techs on there because if I'm going to be nabbing, I might as well be moving extra anyway. And then the rest of the ship, because I'm going to be more focusing on navving and like dials so I can maneuver, I'm not really going to be concentrating fire. And without concentrating fire, I don't really need gunnery teams. So I just built this thing I would like to kill one thing immediately. That's kind of my idea. And then like I just feed it a token to trigger Mon Karen when I need it. So out the front, I'm throwing 5 red dice and 3 blue dice. And if my blue dice, because of spinal armament, I add 1, so 5. And if the blue dice come up with a crit, I don't need to do anything. And I just leave them how it is. If they don't, then I Caitlin and Sholin them because I'm trying to get the heavy ion emplacement to go off. And then I have XI7, so you can't redirect. And Mon Karen says you can use 1 token, period. Good luck. Better not be a redirect because you're only going to be redirecting 1. So you can use your brace, and then heavy ion comes in and just removes all your shields anyway. And then if your blue dice are behaving, you can re-roll all your reds. Like, you got a little bit of options here. So that was my goal. Go in and hit one thing really hard with this ship. And then I'm like, what else would you need? MC-30s are cool, so let's bring an MC-30. I brought this torpedo frigate, and this one excels at killing things that have a scatter. So it has Lando to try to stay alive. Ordnance experts, assault proton torpedoes, H9s, and that's because if your blue dice doesn't come up with an accuracy, it automatically becomes an accuracy, and that's pretty awesome. And then foresight, which is just really good to make all of its tokens do twice as much and try to keep it alive. Simple. And then I have a generic CR90A turbo laser reroute Jaina's Light because I had points and it fit in. Then I have a GR75 medium transport with ComSnet. This is really to give either nav tokens or concentrate fire tokens over to them on Karen so that I could power all the abilities all the time. In this game, I used it to be my VIP and control where it was. There's definitely things I would make changes to this list. My fighters are Shara, Tycho, and 1 VCX. The VCX is just there to give me some sort of control over objectives. I know it's an odd deployment, but this is just kind of a janky. I mean, Madine's an odd deployment as well, but I have to use him, so I might as well have squadrons that are odd. Shara and Tycho are just there to try to hold down squadrons to keep them off me for a turn or two with their scatter and their counter. And then the VCX pulls tokens in toward me. So my build came to 394 points. And that's not too bad. But it means I have extra room. And with that extra room, I would put Quantum Storm on this GR75. And when we go do the breakdown of the game, I'll show you why. Like, just that little bit of extra speed is all that I needed to stay away and keep this from getting close at all. But besides that, I only have 5 regular points. Everything else is kind of upgraded. Like, there's nothing more I would switch out on the MC80. I would just leave it as it is. Instead of heavy ion emplacement, I guess you could also go with PI, the point defense ion cannons to keep someone off you, and it'd save you 5 points. But that's why I have Shara. And if I come up with the dedicated, the MC 80 is just going to try to go across and kill their carrier as fast as possible, and then Shara and Tycho hopefully will defend me from squadrons while I do that. So I don't really need it. This MC30 is what it is. You don't really want to put any more points on here. Maybe put an officer here, but I only have 5 points to do it because I'm putting Quantum Storm on it. So there's really not much to change with that. So that's it for that. So if you guys have any comments, concerns, or thoughts in general, hit me up in the comment section and I'll take a look at them. I'm going to read through chat to see if I've missed anything yet, and then we'll jump into MC's fleet and we'll talk about that breakdown next. Okay. Yep. Looks like Michael's in the chat, so we'll talk about his in a second. And people are still talking about the haircut. 3 years of growing my hair out. Finally got it chopped off. Thank you very much, William. Welcome to the chat and the stream. Doesn't seem like anything else right now, so we're going to just kick it off. So this is a double ISD fleet. And so that means you have a lot of firepower and a lot of hull. And there's no flotilla, which I found interesting, but it has demo. So it's everything about this is scary. It is an Imperial Star Destroyer Kuat refit with Admiral Screed, Ordnance Experts, flak guns, reactive gunnery, point defense ion, and assault concussion missile launchers. So Screed says once per activation, you can flip a die or spend a die to change a die to a side with a crit. Cool. So that is once per activation, not necessarily your turn, which comes into effect when you have reactive gunner. So we have ordnance experts, and everything we have pretty much becomes black dice. We're already a black dice brawl ship. Flak guns allows us to throw black dice farther with salvo, and it also converts our anti-squadron flak all to black dice, which pairs great with ordnance experts. Reactive gunnery, you can spend a ready defense token to have the salvo effect, which basically turns your contain into a salvo, and that means at long range you're throwing a red and a blue, and at medium and close with flak guns you're throwing the evil rainbow, and when your red dice comes up as a blank, you just spend it out, and with Screed, you flip your black dice to a hit crit. It's pretty good. Because you want to not die immediately from fighters, and the ship is going to be moving in close, you have point defense ion cannons, and that allows you to defensively reroll, which is amazing. So that's exciting. And everything about it's good. So here's the thing that I always come up with. The last card is the Assault Concussion Missiles. And the MC has this decked out how I always said. If you're going to go one way with a crit effect type card like this, your whole fleet should be this way. So the entire fleet has Assault Concussion Missiles. You shouldn't try to pair it up with one thing has protons and the other has concussion. If you're going to do it, commit to it and stick with it for all your ships. Because there's nothing worse than you assault concussion missile something and then you hit it with an APT the next time. Well, why? You've already blown through most of the shield, so you just continue down that path. I personally am a bigger fan of APT, and that is because I get that crit effect immediately and a hull damage in addition. This, if you go against something with high shields, they can still tank it. Having said that, Demo absolutely wrecked my MC30 with it, so there's that. But it also would have just done a straight critical hit damage to me, and it would have killed me regardless. So you have to kind of... I'm sorry, my voice is still getting better. So I have a dry throat all the time now. So you have to plan for how you're going to use it. I still think the demo would have killed the MC30 regardless if it was ACM or if it was APT. But like against larger, bigger ships, I feel that APT is stronger and better a lot of times. But if you have the points and you want to try it, nothing hurts to try it. What is fun though is to link together assault concussion missiles and APTs. If you can trigger both of them with the fire control officer, maybe I should just try that in a fleet for once. I'm sure Ken would hate that, but I probably wouldn't get any crits the whole game. But first you trigger heavy ion to reduce the shields, and if it's like a small ship and you hit them with that, like their shields are gone, and then you hit them with assault concussion and it does 2 extra damage. It's really, really juicy. I have used it in the past but never recorded, so maybe we'll do that. And then the second ship is an Imperial Kuat, equipped exactly the same, so everything I just said applies again. So now you have 2 things that are good at salvo that normally don't have salvo and are still going to kick you in the teeth if you get close, so you have to be really careful with that. And then you also have this other brawler. This whole fleet is like completely brawling. Is a Gladiator 1. It has Ordnance Experts, again, Assault Concussion, Missiles, and Demo. So it's kind of on the cheaper end of like what a demo would be, because it doesn't have any officers or engine techs or anything like that. And yeah, it's good. So that's it for the ships. And then we're going to have the duel off between Sienna Ray and Valen Rudor and Shara and Tycho in this match. Of the we would like you not to attack us with fighter squadrons, and they basically fight themselves to a standstill for 6 rounds. So I think the only fighter that died was my VCX because it got locked in there just trying to get a scatter to be spent to try to kill kind of stuff, and it just didn't work. So that's the fleet. I actually don't really have much to say in regards to changing it. Let's look at the points. Like, again, there's only 5 points to play with. Maybe adding an officer, but like you don't even have enough points to add an officer really into any of these ships or really any other upgrades. So I can't really say I would change anything. Maybe switch everything to APT, which then buys us 3 points, and then you could add like Vanto to one of the ships, but like that only helps one of the ships. So I'm torn if I would actually make any changes to it. No. Maybe drop the fighters and add a Gazanti. But I would prefer just the 2 fighters here just to keep other fighters away. Even though you have the point defense ion cannons. But like if you look at like what you would see normally in all the factions. So like if you come up against... CAS, you're either facing hyenas or really tri-fighters, and tri-fighters have black dice, so point defense really doesn't do anything against that. And then hyenas are double red, so you might be able to reduce damage, but they might still be getting something in anyway. Imperials running fire sprays or Jendon, so point defense doesn't do anything against that. And then most of the time you have rebels, and they're like A-Wings or YT 2400s, and they're all black dice, so if you re-roll it, it's still probably going to be hit. So having those 2 fighters just to hold off for a turn is really, really good. Okay, so that's the fleet. You really wouldn't make any major changes to it. I would say I've decided for this season I'm going to like try to grade on a scale where these fleets would fall. I wouldn't say either of these fleets are competitive, but neither of these fleets are in the jank category. So we're going to just make it here. Like you have hyper competitive, normal fleet, a little bit like subpar fleet, and then jank is going to be a lot of what I fly. But these are just like normal fleets, and either of these you could drop in to a friendly game and you wouldn't hate yourself, or your opponent wouldn't, never want to play you again. Because there's definitely fleets that do that. So I'm going to go check out chat. Ask me any questions if you have any, or thoughts or comments, and then we'll get into how the game broke down. Michael's commenting about his fleet. He says, normally play APT, so I wanted ACM here and see how it works. Well, it worked. Can't say that it always does, but man, that ACM really wrecked my MC30 when it went off. I almost dodged it too, but it did not. He says, also, I submitted this before Rebellion in the Room 1. I have changed the second Kuat to a Venator afterwards. Awesome. I like the Venator in the Imperial. I haven't really been able to play it, but I've seen other people play it, and they've done well for it. There was a local tournament recently, and one of the players there had a Kuat, and it was decked out the way I like the Kuats decked out, which is expanded launchers and external racks and XI7s, and then it really doesn't matter after that, because if you let me get close to you, I'm going to kill you. And he has one of the most epic things I've ever seen happen in a game. So he rolled in speed 3 on a victory, and he was able to get an accuracy and block the brace, and then had 14 damage. Perfect. And one shot of victory off the table and one shot with the Venator, which props, that's pretty awesome. So that was pretty exciting to hear about in the tournament, because you just are talking to people, and man, 14 damage and an accuracy, that's some firepower right there. So okay, let's break this down. Here's the setup. I had 1 point a bid. If I made the changes, we would tied, and then it would have been a roll-off. But my objectives for this fleet are Most Wanted, Capture the VIP, and Intel Sweep. So my thoughts on this is, Most Wanted, I can always just throw it on a transport, and then my TRC 90 benefits from an extra dice. My Liberty already is just like a one shot, like we're just gonna gun and kill one thing. And it's already good at killing one thing, and then I just get an extra dice into each attack, which is awesome. And then like the MC 30, if you get in close range, I'm adding an extra black dice, yes please, and then it scores more points. So yeah, that's cool. Capture the VIP makes it so that you have to kill me and come to me and do your thing. And like I have the VCX to pull that toward me. Actually, I could also make that change. This is before I heard how someone did this, backing it way up. So I might put Ezra Bridger on the transport. And what I've seen done is you use Ezra to pull the token on an obstacle into you, which is brilliant. And then I wouldn't need the VCX, and then I might be able to add some more upgrades. But it's like, I don't know what upgrades I would put. But like Ezra might be a decent addition into this fleet just to have some obstacle control. So VIP, you have to come get me. And then Intel Sweep, I have a CR90 and Maydeen, so I pretty much can turn and go speed 4 as fast as I want and pick up tokens. The problem is a lot of times when you're playing Intel Sweep, that means that your opponent is going to set up in the middle of the table and just try to cut you off. So that's why I have the VCX in there for this objective, is so then I can pull objectives closer to me or send them across and move them out of range after you've landed your ship, so then you can't pick one up. And it's 75 points, so that's huge. That's already a 7-4 without really shooting or killing anything. So that's my objectives. I think Ken chose smartly and chose Capture the VIP. So that's what we end up playing. So if you can see, here's the VIP here. I've set up my transport. My transport's planning on being my VIP ship. And the VCX is here, so it's just going to move it, pick it up, run. So off the bat, I have to decide, do I want to try to run behind these ships or make a run for it here? And like I said, like starting in the middle of the table, these are just going to come across and kill me. So I've decided pretty much right off the bat, we're going to try to go this way. We're going to go across the table behind my other ships to protect it. This is where Quantum Storm would become a big effect, because if you watched the game, like I was able to stay slightly out, but Ken had the inside lane, I had the outside lane, so he caught me. With Quantum, I could then theoretically be moving speed 4, and he shouldn't have been able to catch me then. And I'll point out like where I would theoretically have been, and it's just out of range. So it wouldn't have had such an epic finish, but it would have been safer for me. And then I did something that I normally don't do. I'm not a big fan of flankers most of the time, because if they decide just to kill your flanker and run, it's a game over. So I have my CR90 off to the side here, and my plan is, like, he clearly has to go after my VIP, so he's going to come barreling in here, and then the ship is just going to rotate behind. The problem is the stupid salvo. And the CR90 is going to be attacking at like medium to long range, and the salvo and flat guns on an ISD means I'm taking 3 dice every time I shoot at you with 3 dice. And that sucks. And I don't want to be taking those shots. So like midway through the game, you see I just stop it. I'm like, if I just keep attacking, it's going to die. You're doing more damage to me than I'm doing to you, which is a terrible feeling. So... okay, so as you can see here, I picked up the token and I'm about to rush this way. If I had Quantum, I would have already been right here, almost into my MC30, and I think that would have been a benefit. Flanking, Ken's coming in, we're having the showdown of the please don't attack our ships fighters, and then you have Demo coming in for the charge. I got put into a really, really hard spot here. And as you can see, Demo got deleted on this turn. And the reason was I was forced into making my moves at a certain time. If you see where this ship is here, it is stuck here because where I want to fly it, I can't because my ships are in the way. So that means I have to activate everything else first. So that's why my MC30 went here in the debris field. I should have just taken the debris field. But hindsight's 2020. And it just, I was trying to set up a good arc the next time, and all that I ended up doing was putting myself in like perfect range to be demoed, and then also still in range to be just murdered by the Kuwat. So I just threw that ship away, in essence. Like, there's no way that I was going to stand that type of firepower. And then I was going to be fine, and then the ACM kicked in, and I had no shields, nowhere to redirect it to. Everything was going terrible, and it ends up dying at the start of the turn. But this MC30 rolled in the perfect amount of damage to kill the Demo through the side because of heavy ion emplacement and on Karen and everything like that. It just right through. So that felt pretty good as a consolation prize for my MC30 just going to explode. So I'm starting to run, but again, if I had Quantum, I would be a little bit farther. I would be around right here, right behind the MC30. And at that point, like, I'm out of range. Like, the Kuwats couldn't get me. I didn't think I had the firepower to take on the Kuwat. I'm already out of arc here. And as you can see, like, I'm just not in the right position. Even with Maydeen, like, I could have added extra clicks. I should have slowed down and pivoted. I was just afraid that the Liberty's not going to last long enough against 2 Kuwats that are full health, especially when my heavy damage dealer MC30 isn't going to get a shot off, because I already knew it was dead. So I decided to, at this point, to start just running. And as you can see, that's what I do. I'm just chugging along, I realized that attacking these things is going to hurt my CR90 more than I can do damage to it. Like, I could just keep knocking shields off, and Ken's going to just keep putting the shields right back on, so why bother? So I just stop it. And then we're locked in this fighter ball squall. And as you can see, my ship's here. But with Quantum, it would have been closer to here already, which is, again, going to be out of range. And then this is where I start becoming stupid and start doing squadron instead of nav, and like just the extra click. This would have been useful. And with Quantum would have put me here, which should be, because I was just in red range, this might be outside of red range, or just in. All my ships are running. This Kuwat's out of the game. This one's the only one that matters, and the transport's here. That's the wrong way. And then as you can see here, this is where the game is pretty much going to finish. And if you add up the Quantum Storm for all of the different things, I should be closer to out here at the end of this round if I had that. And that's why I think that upgrade card, I'm never going to play this fleet again. But if I were to, that's why I would kick it out, so then it would be out over here and out of the way, instead of giving him this juicy shot. Like, I was looking at him like, oh my gosh, like this whole time I'm like, I should win this. And then it comes down to the last thing. I'm like, if Ken gets an accuracy, I'm dead. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll just die. So he thankfully did not get the accuracy, and he had no reroll abilities. So, that's the end of the game. My ships survive except for my MC30, and his ships survive except for his gladiator. So we just basically traded our close-in knife fighters, and that's it. Like, where is it? So this is the end of the game. My MC30 is fine, or my battle cruiser's fine. MC30 is dead. All the shields gone because of ACP or ACM. Corvette's really, like, the shields are wounded. It's having a bad time, and that's why I stopped to attack. Like, the next one's gonna just wipe out the shields, possibly do a crit to me, and then after that, I'm gonna get hit again. So no, thank you. And then Shara's a little bit injured, and my VCX is wiped out. On Ken's side, I actually did a decent amount of damage against his ship with my Liberty, which then makes me think like I could have stuck around and maybe taken out his flagship. It would have been really risky because that second Kuwat would have come in and probably taken me out, but like we're just trading blows at that point. The Gladiator got wrecked. And then I almost took out his fighters, but I just left him with just enough health to be annoying on the last turn. So that's pretty much the summary of the game. I think the moral of the story for this one is... where is my mouse? I think the moral of the story on this one is that Quantum Storm would have definitely helped me out, and I think I had more firepower than I gave myself credit for, and I maybe should have just went in and tried to kill a Kuwat and then run. But like where the obstacles were and watching him just light up my MC30 had me worried that I would just immediately lose it. So I decided that running was a better tactic there. But also, if I were to have like more turned into it, the Kuwat would have never been able to turn to get after my flotilla. So it might have been a safer bet to spend one turn to take fire from it and then zip away. But again, hindsight, 2020. But that's why we do this, so we can look back and we can learn. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that episode. If you guys have any questions or comments, or you guys want to talk about something specifically, go ahead and hit me up in the comments section, and we'll go from there. So Dublek says that was an epic story. I'm taking it it's about the Venator and its amazing shot that it did. I would love to probably in the next couple seasons when I get to having a nicely painted Imperial Venator, it's going to be white. And I get it on the channel. I'm probably going to be doing something along those lines, like XI7s with expanded and external racks. It's expensive, but man, it hits like such a truck. Like, what are you going to do? Like, sure, your PICs can reroll one black double, but what if I have like 6 black doubles? Like, it's just so much pure damage. It's amazing. I'm trying to think of what else there is to talk about. Had a local tournament this previous weekend. People there asked me not to go over their list because they're preparing for Gen Con, so I'm respecting that. So I'm in the process of recording a backseat to be released right after Gen Con, probably while we're at Gen Con, actually, just so then you guys can have a recap of that event. It was called the Chicago Open. I ended up winning, so that was the first thing that I have ever won in Armada, like actual event-wise. Like, I've placed decently, but that was my first win, so I was excited about that. I played very, very well. I got 30 points in 3 rounds with an MOV of 1,200, so it was a very solid win. So I'm very much so looking forward to talking to you guys about that fleet and how I ended up doing that. I have pictures of each round, so it'll be like basically what we do with Backseat, but with the tournament. I've done those before, so that will come out just after Gen Con. What would you like to see in Rapid Reinforcements 2? I don't really know if I want to see a Rapid Reinforcements 2 come out. And I've gone over this before. It's not that I don't want content. I just don't see from a manufacturing gaming thing why I would do that. And the reason for that is the next logical ship that we would get would be a Republic Architon. And I think that would be awesome. But right now, if you look at it, the Architon's one of their best-selling ships. So just to give a free card for a ship that's pretty much always out of stock might not be necessarily the way to go on that. It might be more beneficial for them as a game company to have that tested and then release a Republic pack. And that could be like their first actual pack. Like, we won't be seeing it till minimally probably next Christmas. Not this Christmas, but the following Christmas, like 2023 Christmas. But I think from a game perspective, it would be more valuable for them to do that. Honestly, the Rapid Reinforcement 1 gave us a lot of new content and helped flesh out the factions. But I don't see there being anything else like insane to add right now. Like, you could add more Jedi to like fighters. Okay, cool. You could make some other things. I would like to see another CIS fighter. And my guess would be something be like a Fire Spray and Jango Fett. Like, that's a super easy transition. But for the most part, most of the things that the Republic and the CIS need, they actually need another pack. Because, like, they both desperately need strategic, and they both need assault, so they can hand out raid tokens, because that would change how good TF is, and it would also change how certain cards work. Which card is it? The Republic have... They're never used because they don't have the ability to. It's Commander Wolf changes the way assault wording works if you have the printed assault on a fighter. Like, you need that. And none of the squadrons that are currently in the game go back to the Republic to add those keywords onto them. Like, it doesn't make sense to be like, this is a Republic Lambda. They didn't have a Lambdas back then. They had, like, the other type of shuttlecraft, but we need that type of shuttlecraft or, a LAT to really give it what it needs, and that needs to be another pack. So I see that we need actual product at this point. I think Rapid Reinforcement once is great as a Band-Aid. We still have later out this year/summer, we're supposed to get that narrative play, and I think that should help us with a different type of story to change the way we played. So we got some new cards and some stuff. Like Rapid Reinforcements is huge, especially with Anakin Squadron for the Republic. Like that changes all of the Republic builds. I've used Anakin a couple times, and he just wipes out squadron balls. It's crazy. He's so good. Paired with like the V19's aces to protect him, and then Ahsoka to be like, hey, could you please shoot that for me? And then I'll finish it off for you, is just very powerful. Ken's got some sitting on his shelf. Yes, Ken has never... So I'm very much so... My entire collection's open and out. Ken has about an equal collection, but probably only has like 50% of his ships out, which is crazy to me. Usually when we come over and we do recording... Depending on if Ken has time beforehand, like most of the ships are all mine, and I just pull out all the ships for us and have them out already. And then usually he brings his fighters, so you can like, because we both have very different painting styles for fighters, so you can always tell his fighters and my fighters on the channel. But yeah, I just actually, there was a sale somewhere, and I've been slowly picking up upgrade card packs. So I just went through and sorted cards yesterday. So I have like boxes of extra cards that aren't sleeved anymore. You mentioned these fleets not being really competitive. Why would you say that is? And what makes a fleet pass that threshold for being competitive? That's a very good question. And a lot of times for competitive fleets, you need to be able to meet and be able to play against anything. That's like kind of the thing. So if you look at like the meta of an area, you start to figure out what would be passable as a competitive fleet. For the most part, metas are just being established now, but they would have been set like pre-pandemic. Is like we have this huge gap of fleet building, and then the Clone Wars came out, so the meta is very, very loose right now. But we can look at past experiences and things like that and base knowledge off of that. And when you look at past experiences, you look that most fleets have a lot of activations and they have a lot of deployments. And that's actually one of the things that I look for when I see a competitive fleet. Neither of these fleets have enough deployments or activations to be competitive. So let me pull that up real fast. Give me a sec. Where can I grab? Let's grab this one. So let's look at this fleet. So this fleet actually is got a decent amount of deployments. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4 deployments with the fighters, 5. And then the last deployment's the VCX. So that's 5 deployments. That's not a lot. If you were to go up against something that had, let's say, a Leia, like Hammer's Head Swarm MSU fleet. Like we've seen, I believe it was at LVO, a fleet like that placed very well in like the top 4. And that has like 7 activations. So that means they're putting like 2 ships down after you. So you want your heavy hitter, the MC or the Liberty, to be able to go against whatever you need to try to kill something. And it just can't, because they're going to be able to retain back something that they're going to drop. Or if you go against a fighter heavy list, like they drop all their fighters and then you're all down and then they get to put their carriers down. how they want. So let's look at a Sloan times a standard like ISD Sloan fleet with fighters and 1 or 2 quasars. So you have an ISD, you have a quasar, you have 1 or 2 Gazantes, so that's 4. And then you have a minimum of 8 squadrons, so that's 4 more. So that's 8 activations, and you're at 5. So if you go back and forth, so Gazanti down, transport down, 4 fighters. That's the rest of your fleet. And then they put another Gazanti down, they put the Quasar down, and the ISD exactly where they want it lined up against you. They're going to win. They just won deployment. And then you look at activations a lot of times. Like, it's harder to play with less activations. And, hold on. This fleet's even worse off. It has ISD, Gladiator, Fighters, 4 deployments, and only 3 activations. 3 activations okay for Empire, but you have no, like, burning activations, and you really want first player. If you're not first player, it's going to be kind of rough for you. I would have to check to see what the objectives are for this fleet, but it's like you have to be able to table them, and they're going to be able to decide how they engage you. So that makes it very, very difficult for this fleet. So that's why I'm like, these are just normal fleets. They're not on the high end of competitive fleets because you have to take like activation, deployment, and things like that into account, and different ways to win the game without actually fighting the game. So, like token farming. Like what would you do if you had this fleet and you went up against someone that had and was built to play abandoned asteroid or mining station? Like, sure, you can run across the table, but they're getting like 70 points worth of tokens a turn because each token that they get is worth 10 points. If we look at something, oh, we don't see what's on your screen. You're showing it. I'm a professional streamer. Hold on. I'll flip it over and then I'll show you again what I was talking about. Thank you. But like, here we go. I was just looking at the ISD fleet. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 activations. So you have to put a Star Destroyer down first. So that's, they know where Star Destroyer is. Then fighters. Cool. Then maybe another Star Destroyer, because you kind of want demo to be its own thing in deployment. But that's 4 deployments. Most fighter type fleets means that they put down a flotilla and they see your entire deployment before you even start. So hold on, I actually can show you what I mean by this. Spoilers for next week. You guys are going to see. Actually, Ken's already spoiled the fleet, so it's fine. But let's look at this. This I wouldn't necessarily put as a competitive fleet. This is more of a janky fleet, but you can get the idea of what I was talking about with fighters. This fleet has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fighters. So right there, that is 5 deployments. So this is a 5 and 8 deployment fleet. Against that ISD fleet is only 4. So that means I get to see everything. Like I put the pelted down. I put all the fighters down. I see where you are. I put my acclimators in on a flanking position, and then I can steamroll in to try to kill something if I need to. So that's scary. And it's the same thing against this fleet. If you look, like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deployments. So that means they're still putting out fighters, and I'm all set up on the board. Like, I've lost deployment. And those are the things that you need to think about when you're building a competitive fleet. Like, how am I going to deploy? How am I going to be using the how am I going to be using the objectives to sway deployment so that I can do it? And that's like a lot of the times why I choose the objectives that I do, is because I get a control of deployment on a suboptimal deployed fleet. So if you think about it, you're either going to win by tabling your opponent, And because it's competitive, you need to be able to significantly win. It's not okay just to win. Like, cool, you win the game and it's a close drawn fight, and that's fun. And that's why, like, this was a fun match. Like, if you look at the final score, here it is. Look at this. This match was 19 points. That's a close match, but that's a 5-6. That's not getting you anywhere in a tournament. That's like mid to bottom tier. Like, after round 1, you have the people that got 10 ones and the ones, and you're just stuck in the middle with everyone else in the slog. And you only have an MOV of 19, which is what determines tiebreakers. That's terrible. And it was a full 6-turn game, so that's brutal to do. And what you need to do is you need to be able to win by big. So you need to use the objectives to sway that to your side, or you need to be able to go in and you need to completely annihilate the other opponent without taking many losses. So that's how I kind of consider winning the competitive fleets. So, like, neither of these fleets have the option of really winning big. Like, the Star Destroyer maybe, but, like, if you kill a Star Destroyer or lose one Star Destroyer, you're not going to be winning by big. You're going to be maybe winning, but it's not going to be big enough to pump you up through the score. If you have objectives that farm tokens, then you're more into it. And so, like, the Liberty fleet, it has a way to win. Most Wanted allows the fleet to try to table the other opponent or kill their big ship, and hopefully that you get out unscathed. And that's why Ken didn't pick that. Because if he picked that, I put it on probably his flagship, and then all my ships just gang up and try to kill the flagship as fast as possible and then run away from the rest of the fleet. And the flagship is now worth double points. So if your fleet, you have 2 Star Destroyers, so that's like roughly half of your points are in that if I choose your commander. And then you double that, so that's 300 to 400 points on my side, versus I probably lose my 2 smaller ships, and that's 100, so that's a difference of 200. Okay, 200's like, what is that? That's just hitting the 8-3 level, so that's decent. VIP guarantees me 50 points, so if I choose to fight and I get the VIP token out, it's whatever we fought plus 50 points. And as you can see here, this is a close game just because of that. I would have lost because he took out a more expensive ship. Demo traded up and got more points. And I wasn't able to kill any of his fighters. So right there is the reason I won. But if I were to have killed his fighters, that would have been 30 points. I still would have lost. It would have been still close. But I needed to kill a Star Destroyer to win this if I wasn't just playing the run around with the objectives. And then the last one, which was the intel sweep that I had, like, I get 75 points, so that's a 7-3 or 7-4, so that's more in line with it. And then, I pick up a few kills here and there, and then I can try to bump it up to an 8-3 or maintain that 7-4. So, like, that's why I don't see either of these fleets as being competitive. Like, they don't match well against things that are competitive. Like, if you look at even, Sam S's Thanks for Playing fleet, it is, 2 Gazantes, 2 Interdictors, and a Onager. Onager's with a bid to go second, so you have to choose from he farms you for tokens or surprise attack, put your flagship here, and I'm going to kill it in round 2. Unless you have an answer for it. Neither of these fleets have an answer for it, so they would just be sitting speed 0 and just taking an Onager shot right to the face and then having to fly away over mines. That's terrible. It's terrible for the Liberty. The Liberty doesn't have the defense tokens to really survive that well. It could get a token to get rid of the raid with the flotilla, but the double ISD, it's stuck there. It's going to be rated with nav. It's not moving anywhere, and it's going to die. So, like, you have to have, like, what would I do in case I get surprise attack, speed 0, trapped by an onager interdictor fleet? What would I do against, like what I just showed you? Because I've seen people play bomber heavy. Like, that's, like, 10 fighters, 11 fighters, all bomber orientated with bomber command. What's my plan against that? And, like, that ISD fleet, sure, you could come and try to kill my carriers. My carriers are pretty tanky. They're acclimators in next week's fleet. And you have to fly through that. Even with PICs, you're going to still take damage. You're taking 10 dice of damage on a 75% chance that it's a hit. And then a 50% chance, right? No, a 25% chance that it's a double hit. I'm gonna eat through your Star Destroyers. And then normal fire, like you're out of defense tokens quickly. Also depends on the objective. Like if there's an objective, like every time I score a hit against your rear, I get a victory token. Well, if you don't have fighters, or I lock down your fighters and I can get all those Y-wings behind you, that's 15 points per attack if I get a hit. So that means I could get 15 points times, what did I say, 11 fighters theoretically? 11 times 15 per round against the rear of your Star Destroyer while you're trying to kill me. Like, what would you do against that? And that's what I would consider competitive fleets. I don't play a lot of competitive fleets because that's not what we do on the channel. But I can play competitive fleets, and I have lots of competitive fleets in my head that you guys just don't see that I've been working on, which is when we eventually talk about the Chicago Open. I get to talk about it. So looking forward to talk about that. So that was a very long answer. So hopefully that makes sense to you and answers your question. Let's see where I'm at. This Scree fleet would have died to a well-built Sloniger fleet or a solid Martuk fleet. Yes, those are the two things I think that kill most everything. Are the well-built Sloniger or the well-built double Onager. If you watched / listened to our episode of the Command Stack on the Australian Open, there was I believe it was a double Sloniger list that ended up winning. That was very, very mean and very, very well played if you watched that live stream. So you could go check that out and see how someone played something that had like small ships in one of the rounds and it just annihilated it. Good old Murderkin. Yeah, he just kills everything. We don't see your screen. If you been a while since I saw Heavy Fighter Squad. Yep, you guys get to see that later this week, and then just ignore what you see. So there's that. Yeah, that's about it. I got a lot of stuff I'm trying to finish up this week. I'm editing. I'm recording that Backseat to be released later. We have another episode of the Command Stack that's coming out, so I have to finish that editing up. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting week. This year's flying by already. I can't believe it's already July. It's crazy. Ken and I are in the process of, like I said, we're filming the campaign. And we are also filming Season 5. That's underway. Season 5 is set now in stone, and we're moving forward with it. And we're starting planning for Seasons 6 and 7, which is crazy. And then we'll be in, like, madness again. Crazy how fast the years go by. So we're coming up with some fun ideas to try to change things up for Madness next year as well. So I think that about does it, unless someone else has anything they want to chit-chat about in the chat. I'm probably going to call it here. It feels good to be doing this again. I enjoy doing it, and the 2-month break was fun because I was able to, try to catch up on things, but I'm glad the Backseat's back. And we'll be continuing this for the rest of the season, talking about all the different fleets, because we have some wacky fleets this season that we're going to be playing and talking about. So stick around with us for that. Okay. Nothing new on the chat, so thank you very much for tuning in and for watching. Stay tuned for more great content coming out this coming week. We have that preview that I showed you of a Plo Koon Fighter Heavy Fleet that will be released this Friday. It's already available for our Patreon members, so if you are a Patreon member, you can check that out now. And then in the upcoming this Sunday / around Sunday, we're going to be releasing the next episode of Command Stack. And then we're going to, I believe Ken's going to be releasing next week the final for the Madness Monster Truck. I've actually really been enjoying the series that Ken's been producing with that. That's something that he's done on the side, so like when you guys watch it, I pretty much watch it for the first time. So I've really been enjoying watching how it does it. I think it's cool how the robot on both sides plays it, and like clearly sometimes the robot makes mistakes, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have done that, and then I realize I'm telling a robot that I would have thought better than it, which is kind of funny. So you guys should check that out if you haven't already. So until next time, I'm John. This has been Ion Radio, and you've been watching the Backseat Admiral.